SDP is a party with a rich history and pedigree, and this dates back to MK Abiola and the famous June 12, 1993 presidential election. Is this in any way playing out in your favor?
Yeah, it is. It doesn't hurt that we have been consistent for 30 years, well, other than the troublemaking political parties that we have now. So, and we started by saying farewell to poverty. And we won the election on that basis. And at that time, we brought someone, MK Abiola, who had never been a councillor before, or commissioner, or minister, or governor. He's never served in any government capacity. But he was a well-renowned accountant and philanthropist and businessman. So the only difference between him and me is the time and the fact that instead of being an accountant, I'm a lawyer. But so our party has been consistent. Secondly, our manifestos at that time are still valid now. People still remember them, that we were the ones trying to fight poverty. And poverty now has a grandchild called insecurity. And we are now saying farewell to poverty and insecurity. And all over the place, I went to Jigawa State, and I met an old man who was struggling to see me, despite how the security were making it difficult for him. And he told me, well, I was a party agent under Abiola, and while you are running for office now, I've gone around Jigawa State, I've been able to raise enough money, and I was told that he spent over 8 million, even though he's just a farmer. But just by going to people who used to be in SDP and say, SDP is back, let us do what we did last time. So it's been helpful. But we're also aware that there are a lot of people in this generation who never knew what happened 30 years ago. People who are 25 or 28 and all of that, even people who are 30 years old. So we are reminding them that Nigeria has not always been about money politics. Nigeria has not always been about skepticism or apathy. That 30 years ago, Nigeria rallied around without minding religion, without minding ethnicity, without minding any other thing, and they came together, and that it can be done again today. So it's been helpful in that regard. So that is the legacy of the Social Democratic Party, and I'm happy to be part of the rebirth of the party.
All right, so you would agree with me that poverty remains endemic in Nigeria, but as an entrepreneur, how do you think this can be best tackled?
First is to remove the hand of government, because the factory that manufactures poverty is the government. The way our land is, the way all our resources are in this country, this is a country that doesn't want poverty. Everything around us works, except the government. So once you remove the government, I always give people the history of this country, that even before Nigeria was established, if you study all the historical records, the colonials who came, they didn't meet poor people in Nigeria. They made general underdevelopment in terms of infrastructure and all of that, but there were no homeless people, there were no hungry people, people were well fed. If you look at pictures of Nigerians 100 years ago or more, you will see that they were quite muscular, the women were robust and healthy. So the land is able to support us. The problem is that the government came and occupied the whole land, has the Land Use Act, so government control land all over the country. Government control everything under the land, and the allocative efficiency is not there. So what government is doing now is confiscate all our properties, all our natural endowment, and misapplying it to the priority of a few people who are less than 1% of 1%. So they rendered people to go to school, the education is not sound enough, and when they come out of school, they are not giving them job. So people are kind of lost. In communities that are trying to take care of their affairs, there are issues regarding licensing, who has the right to control this and that. So even simple safety, public safety and all of that, initiative has been taken away from the people, because the government has a police that doesn't work for the people also. So when you put all of this together, you will discover that it's the government that is responsible. And today I was with NASIMA, National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. And you could see that they are willing to work. But government regulation is affecting it, interest rates is affecting it, inflation is affecting it, high tariffs affecting it, license. Instability of foreign exchange is affecting it, policy inconsistency. When you put all of those together, they all emanate from the government. So as an entrepreneur, I suffer a lot. But I realize that if we can get our government right, get people in government to be people who want to serve, people we have in government now, not just the ruling party now. The ruling party is not even as bad as the party before it that spent 16 years. So I'm letting you know it's not about one party, it's about how we have managed to organize our politics, that it is for big men, people who take ministerial position, to show up their personal profile, not to serve. We send people to places where they don't have talent as a reward for their contribution to an expensive political system. So if we can change that and run government of services and public servants, both the politically appointed one, elected one, and the civil servants, realize that they are just servants, and that if we make it okay for the entire country, it's a general tide that will lift all our boats. But to say that you are on a boat and you want your own side to be lifted and the other side goes down, the boat is going to capsize.
All right.
We should stop producing big men. We should bring big ideas and let Nigerians contribute to the economy of this country.